folks, remember John? John's very kindly allowed me to park my car here. I'm heading off on another adventure, folks. This adventure might be a day or two, or it might be an hour or two. I'm going up into the hills on a route that John is very familiar with, and we've just been chatting. The route in the early part, certainly this evening or early tomorrow morning, requires a river crossing, and it's been hammering with rain here for quite a long time. What's my chances, John?
About 50-50, I reckon.
About 50-50, so I might be checking in with you back here about this time tomorrow, folks, if I can't get across that river. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on the bike. I've got a wee bit of road cycling to do, and then deep into the hills. I'll switch the camera on and off today to give you a flavour of where I'm heading, and let you see what I'm up to. But for the road bit, I'll just put the camera on the back of the bike, I think, and make a bit of time. John and I have been reminiscing and catching up a little bit, so I've used up a bit of time, a bit of valuable time. The reason John can't come with me today is because he's working, so I hope your colleagues are not watching this, John.
No, I've switched off and out, but I'm very jealous. So even if it rains a lot, you have a great time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and John and I have hatched up a plan to get together and maybe take a trip into Ben Alder Cottage at the bottom end of Loch Ericht at some point. So thanks, John, very much appreciated. I'll come and collect my car at some point. It'll either be sooner or later, but
I'll be selling it.
Yeah, you won't get much for it. And I'll get back to you in a wee while, folks. So I'm going to get on the road now.
Bye, Dave.
Bye, John. Not sure if you can hear me above the rumble of the tyres on the tarmac, folks. I don't have a wind muffler on this GoPro either, just because of the rain. The wind muffler is made of foam. It just soaks up all the moisture like a sponge. I pulled over to chat to you a little bit. I'm on the road section, which is relatively short, so John's place is back at the end of the loch. I'm cycling down the north side of Loch Rannoch, and I'm looking for an estate track that goes deep up into the hills. I know where it is. I don't have to do much searching. I've been on it several times. I'm going to roll slowly, see if you can hear me above the rumble of the tyres on the tarmac. Had a wee glance at the weather forecast last week, folks, for this week when I was contemplating this route, and according to the forecast last week, the weather was going to be quite nice. Gradually, as the week progressed towards the weekend, the forecast became grimmer and grimmer, and then I looked at the weather at about 6 o'clock this morning, and I've got several days of fairly heavy rain. And because of the terrain and the odd river crossing, it's cast a doubt on whether I'll be able to complete this route or not. I'm not overly concerned about that. I'm going to go into the hills, have a bit of fun, set myself a challenge or two, and just take it from there, see how I get on. I'm approaching the end of the road section, folks. Wobbling you about a bit there, just having a glance over my shoulder, make sure there's nothing coming up. Lose the helmet for a wee while, folks. I'll barely be doing walking speed for the next maybe couple of hours. I've got a fairly stiff climb ahead of me here, so I'll just be grinding out the kilometres at a snail's pace. So I'll put this away, and if another heavy shower comes across, I can put this on, a little bit more comfortable than wearing both. Less than 10 kilometres in, I'm exhausted. Quite warm with full weather gear on. It's all good, I'm not exhausted, folks. don't think the power bank has lost a poop yet. Just cooling down in a minute or two. This is a long climb, just slow and steady. We've got about 4.5 hours of daylight left, so I need to be someplace by then to put the tent up. I'm very conscious that you're not getting much scenery, but I will put the camera on once we get up this climb and through the woodland. I might put the camera on up a little bit, show you a wee bit of the woodland. It's quite bonny at this time of the year. You can just about make out in the murk a pass through the hills, folks. So that's where I'm heading. So I've still got a bit of climbing to do. If I turn you a wee bit, you can see the track going up. It goes quite high and then skirts round, and then I go through that pass in the hills. But this track stops quite abruptly in a few kilometres. So actually I've still got quite a lot of track yet, but eventually I run out of track, and then I've really just got to find my way across the boggy hillside. Make sure that my navigation is right, and there's another track that I'm aiming for when I get to the end of this one. Got a few kilometres of trackless boggy terrain, and then pick up a different track. We're burning daylight, folks. I'm going to have to keep going. I'll roll the camera for a wee while on the front of the bike, but it will be pretty shaky footage. And in filming with the camera on the front of the bike, it's hard not to look down at the camera and try and keep it straight. It's a lot safer looking where I'm going. I'm approaching the highest point on the track, actually my highest point for today, in a wee while, maybe a kilometre or so. That doesn't mean that I won't have more climbing to do, because the track undulates, but for a while at least I'll have gravity on my side as I drop down towards Loch Garry. Although the trackless bit climbs and drops and climbs and drops. The rain is, well, it's still hammering down, folks, but it's eased off a little bit. We'll have a river crossing, which I may do tonight or tomorrow morning. Like John was saying, 50-50 chance of getting across. We'll see what it's like. But it's very, very steep coming off the hill. So I've camped here before and seen it thundering down, and a couple of hours later you're able to hop and skip across it. The steepness drains it very quickly. So, I've got the climb coming up to the high point. About a kilometre, I reckon. I'll turn you around in a minute and show you. It's a wee bit disheartening. It's quite a long way. It looks a long way. Keep the gear low, keep the cadence slow, keep the heart rate down, and the meters roll past. I'm bogged down in sand here. Okay, wobbling you about all over the place. I'll turn the camera, show you a wee bit of the climb, and then I'll switch off for a bit. I'll stop. This is what I call Class B footage, folks. It's alright stitching a wee bit of this type of footage into the video, but experience tells me that too much of the sugary footage just wastes the enjoyment. The viewing is not so much fun, so I'll stop. You can see the climb ahead, and that ridge there, the track goes quite high up. Doesn't go all the way to the ridge, I'm glad to say, but it does go quite high up the flank of that hill there and then contours round. So although the gradient isn't steep, it's long. I'm more or less at the high point now, folks. I can actually see a glimpse of Loch Garry in the distance there. Man, it looks a long way away. But I'm rolling a bit faster now, so sorry about the shaky camera angles. Now what I do need to do is put my helmet on, just in case. Out here on my own, it wouldn't be good to fall off the bike and crack my skull. Well picked in there. Done. There we go. If I can hold you steady on the handlebars there. Everything is so much more difficult when it's hammering with rain like this. You've got to keep smiling and you've got to keep going. I'm getting a bit gritty with the rubbish thrown up from the path. Once I get on a bit, I'll spin the camera around, you might be able to get a glimpse of Loch Garry, where I'm heading. How are we doing for time? I'd like to be finding a camping spot in about 2 hours, 2.5 maximum, so that I can get my camp set up in the rain before the dark, before the darkness sets in. But that's not going to happen standing here chatting. I'm going to have to crack on again, folks. Up and over. Right. Can you see that, folks? Away in the distance in the murk, there's a strip of grey. Well, that's the bottom end of Loch Garry, and that's where we're heading. However, we've got to go away this way down this track, and then we run out of track, and then that ground in about there, I've got to hike that, and then the loch is in there, down there. But we're making good progress now, a lot of downhill. Leave the camera running, you can get a little bit of exhilaration as we rattle down here. taking a wee detour, folks, to show you Dunish Bothy. Let's get a bit across here. It's not far out of my way. Apologies for the shaking again. It's actually looking quite attractive as a spot to get out of the wet tonight. Let me take you in and show you the Bothy. A wee gate there to keep the sheep out. Well, here we are. Not a bad place. A wee bit dark, I don't know how much you can see on my wet GoPro. A little bit damp in here as well, but it's a lot drier than it is outside. I did wonder about stopping here tonight, but I'm not overly keen because it's going to hammer down with rain tonight, and the burn that I've got to cross is only going to get fuller. So a glimpse of Dunish Bothy for you folks, but I need to get back onto the track and get to the end of the track and start hiking. There's a lot of water in the system, folks, but fortunately there's a bridge over this one. The burn that I've got to cross is much smaller, so I'm still hopeful that I might be able to get across, but if it's anything like this, there's no way that I'll be hauling a bike into something like that. There's a bit down there, there's a second bridge down here, there's a bit down there with standing waves. The paddlers amongst you will be looking at it and it'll say it'll be class 5 plus. Anyhow, I'm more or less at the end of the track now. It's the end of the track for me there, and I've got to start hiking the bike over land, heading towards my burn, my wee stream. Hope it's a trickle. Time for a bit of hiking, folks. Bottomless peat bog. Oh, come on. Let me tilt you up a wee bit, you've seen enough peat bog. The view ahead is not that exciting. Oh, come on, idiot. That was almost up to the handlebars there, folks. Look, Gary ahead, folks. Getting closer. It still seems a ways away, especially this boggy terrain, but we're getting there. Let's see what this river is going to be like. I'm not going to call it a river, it's a burn. Let's stick with burn. I can get across a burn. In weather like this, I can't get across a river. Onwards, folks. Spin you around, folks. That ends a wipe. In dry conditions I would be able to cycle some of this with a fat bike, but not when there's this much water around. My wheels are literally sinking into the axles. Makes the bike very heavy. It's heavy enough to start without the suction of a peat bog adding to my chores. I said I wasn't going to do much of this B-roll filming because when I did that Cairngorm trip, the footage was just so shaky. But I'm filming something a little bit different. I want to film as much of this trip as I can, time and weather permitting. And so we'll just have to accept that there'll be a bit of B-roll film stitched into some trackside filming with a tripod, which is my A-roll film, much better quality. I just feel it's a while since I filmed an adventure, so I really want to share this with you. I'm very conscious that the regular subscribers, the viewers that follow the channel closely, are very forgiving about this kind of filming. They just enjoy the adventure and the rough and tumble of it, so they don't mind so much. So I very much appreciate that, folks, and if there are new viewers, then if you don't like this kind of footage, then please do check out some of the other videos where I do a lot more filming on the tripod, which gives steadier footage, easier viewing, and it might warm you to the channel, and then you can come back and watch one of the shaky videos such as this one. Shaky video, I don't know if that's a technical term or not. Shaky footage. Let me tilt you up a bit, folks. My tracks just beyond that line there that's coming down, that wee kind of false ridge line on the hill. It's not far away now. We'll find out. Put you back down a wee touch here. We'll find out very shortly what the burn's like and whether I can get over it. It's a while since I've seen this much water on the hill. Walking in porridge, folks. I don't know if the camera's picking that out, folks, but up ahead there, I'm pointing the camera roughly in the direction, there's a couple of waterfalls there. That's the burn that I've got to cross. It's looking wild. Not looking very promising. But we're not going to stop here, we're going to go on and check out exactly what the situation is. Well folks, that is not looking good. I can see a sign of rural domesticity on the other side of the burn there. There's a new fence gone up and a farm gate. There's a raging cataract coming down of that hill. Let's see where it slackens off a little bit, or where the gradient slackens, whether the flow rate is doable. Oh well, it doesn't look too bad here. Well, I've had a good scout up and down, folks. There is a bit where the river pours into the loch that I might be able to get across, but I absolutely can't fall because it drops off into deep, peaty water, and probably a very soft, peaty or silty base, so I have to cross the rocks just before it pours in over the last little rapid, and I have to keep my footing, and then that involves hiking all the way down there and then hiking back up, but I think I'm going to do that. There's a couple of spots here, but I need an exit strategy. Once I'm in the river, I need to be able to, I'm calling it a river now, once I'm in there I need to be able to get out the other side, so there's no point in heading across an easy bit only to be faced with a steep bank that I can't climb up with a bike. And that's the problem. Just in behind me there's a bit. Change of plan, folks. There's a wee bit here. I'm going to try it. I think I can get across. I'm going to put my bike on the downside and use it like this to brace myself, hoping that I can get across. Ordinarily I would get the tripod set up and film something like this for you, but not today, folks. I only want to cross this once. Let's see if we can get the bike down this little shoulder here. I'm sure that looks relatively easy, folks, but the power of that water is something else. I'm sort of regretting not putting the tripod on for you, but I could have gone one of two ways. Anyhow, my track is over there, so we can go onwards. The adventure continues. Whoa! Don't worry, folks, that's as excitable as I get. Just need it to stop raining now. I think it's probably going to do sometime around tomorrow morning. Oh, it's blown a hoolie, folks. I hope you can hear me. I'll try and shelter the camera from the wind a wee bit. I've got a wee bit of wind tucked in under these Scots pine trees here that they look like they're clinging to life. I've got some coffee on the bike. I've got a square of chocolate in there. I'm about dead beat. I said that earlier and I was only joking. I've lost a couple of pips in the power bank. The weather's taken it out of me a wee bit today. What was I saying about a wee bit of shelter? Let me get some coffee on the go. Top tip, folks, before you tip your arm up to drink your coffee, see these things on your sleeve, on your waterproof jacket, just tighten them up like that and it stops all the water running down to your elbow. I've just found that from experience. Stick with it, folks, you'll learn a lot. There's a banana tree just in behind that Scots pine there. Bad, eh? See that banana, battered and bruised, it's a bit like how I feel right now. It was too windy at my usual camping spot, folks, so I've come on a bit. I'm getting a little bit hypothermic here. I've been in the wind and rain all day. I'll take a wee sip of hot liquid. I'll get my tent up. It's a bit gravelly here, but I have got a wee bit of shelter. That little ridge coming down there is helping a wee bit. Tent will be low down. And what I like about this spot is there's lots of rocks. I can use the rocks instead of pegs to anchor my tent down. So I need to crack on and get some shelter. Not worried about it being rocky on the ground here, folks, because I've got a really decent sleeping mat. The main thing I wanted was a dry pitch for tonight. There's some lovely flat spots down there with a great view, but I'd be underwater by morning, I think. I got one job to do before I get in and get out of my wet gear, folks, and start getting warmed up. I need to get water for cooking. I'm just going to do that now. There's a stream not 50 metres away. Well folks, there's no lack of water just now. Oh my goodness, it's wet. Well folks, I'm in the tent, I'm warm, I'm dry, I'm hungry. I was very grateful for that cup of coffee that I had. I was really glad that I had a little bit of warm liquid to drink before I started putting the tent up, because I was pretty chilled, and it was a struggle to put the tent up because my fingers weren't working very well, and you get befuddled with the cold. But we've got the tent up, I've got my sleep system out, the sleeping bag is lofting. I've got some freeze-dried food that I'm going to get on the go. I've got all my gear stashed in the front porch there. I got my shell there and my boots over there, and I've got my 2 panniers here, and then I've got this bag with the electronic gear in it there, and they're all still dry inside, so it's all good. So it was quite hard ending to the day to get the shelter sorted out, but now it'll be easy enough. Although it's still raining out there, so I'm not going to go out with a stove and cook up. I'm just going to boil up some water in here and then make my freeze-dried food. So I'll get a little bit of condensation in the tent. The inner tent got a little bit of moisture on it when I was putting the tent up. That's the advantage of my Terra Nova, that Southern Cross, the wee solo tent that I often use, insofar as you pitch everything in a oneer, so the inner is protected from the elements during pitching by the fly sheet, which is already in place, whereas this one I've got to pitch the inner first and then throw the fly sheet over the top of it. Anyhow, it got a little bit damp, but I'm surprised actually it's not wet at all. It is just literally damp in 1 or 2 spots, and I think it'll probably be okay. If we get a dry morning, I might be able to air it a little bit before I break camp. So I'm conscious that I'm shaking this camera a little bit. It's quite hard work holding it up like this, so I'm going to start cooking up, and I'll get back to you in a wee while, folks. So that's my dinner, folks. It's a macaroni cheese. I put in a little bit extra water in it, so it's going to be a little bit soupy. I think it'll be okay. I'm sure it'll still be tasty. I think anything will be tasty after the day that I put in. So I need to leave it for 5 minutes to hydrate and give it a stir now and again. I didn't film any of the cooking. It's a little bit dangerous cooking in a tent. It's not to be recommended, but I really didn't want to be out there in the wind and the rain. Well, folks, let me turn this lamp off. I'd give that an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed that. Expedition Foods mac and cheese, 800 kilocalories it says, so quite filling. But I'm not done yet. Over here underneath my book I have, you won't be able to see that, I'm pointing you straight at the filming lamp, rice pudding with cinnamon. So I'm going to boil the kettle, I'm going to make a rice pudding, and I'm going to have a cup of tea or hot chocolate or something. I'm going to have some liquid anyway, and then I'm going to climb into my sleeping bag. Well, folks, I'm half in my sleeping bag. I really enjoyed my dinner. I was ready for it for sure. So I'm nice and warm and cozy. I've got a book, I've got some tunes on my telephone, so I'm going to kick back, listen to some tunes. I'm going to read for a wee while. I'm going to try and sleep early. Oh, sorry, I might have to do all that again. Blinding you with my head torch there. So what was I saying? Yeah, I'm half in my sleeping bag. I really enjoyed my dinner. I was ready for it. I was absolutely starving. And Expedition Foods seemed to be a success. I put loads of water in to make them watery. I didn't want them swelling up in my belly overnight. I made sure that they were properly rehydrated and lots of liquid. Then I had a cup of hot chocolate. I've got my book here. I'm going to kick back, read for a while, and I've got some tunes on my telephone, so I'll listen to some music as well. Hope to get off to sleep quite early. I've dried out. My trousers were a little bit wet, just with the rubbing, you know, with the action of pedalling the bicycle in such heavy rain. But they've dried out as I've been sitting here. My base layer seems to be okay, but what I'll do is I'll strip all that off before I go to sleep. I'm keeping it on just now because it's drying it off a little bit, and it's not inside the sleeping bag. So my trousers are here, ready for an early start in the morning. Well, we'll see about that. So I'm going to bid you good night, and I'll get back to you in the morning, but it might be the next episode. I'm thinking about thinking about doing something a little bit different with the filming, and my plan for today didn't really come to fruition. What I wanted to do today was loads of trackside filming using the tripod, but it was so wet and windy, and it was taking a bit of time to make progress, so I really had to crack on and battle through the elements. But what I'm hoping to do is to spend a little bit more time chatting to you, a little bit more dialogue and stuff like that. And that might mean that this adventure is released on my YouTube channel over 3 or 4 videos, something like that. Maybe I'm hoping that I can get sort of 30 to 40 minutes of entertaining footage for you to watch, but we'll see what happens. It might all be a bust. If this weather keeps up, I might be struggling to get one 30-minute video of the entire trip. So, but anyway, I will get back to you in the morning, folks, but it might be on the next episode. So I hope you've enjoyed the adventure so far, and I hope you stay tuned or tune in again for the next installment. Well, good night for now, folks. It's grand just to relax